Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here with my review for The Last Ronin, Part 4, Blood and Snow. Now, when I first went through this, there was a very interesting moment. There are a couple of things to talk about with this most recent issue that were really interesting. One thing that I had, so this is, obviously spoilers, that should be very obvious as far as this review is concerned. But there's a very specific panel here that I want to show you guys. This one right here. So, they killed off Baxter Stockman and Fugitoy sacrifices himself. The way that I read this, my fingers didn't separate a page. I thought April when the Fugitoid zapped at first, I went to the next page and I was like, they just killed off April, and then I was like, hold up, they said some dialogue and I was like, that's weird. Hold on, let me see something. My pages were together. That freaked me out. I thought they just blew up April. I thought the Fugitoid went off for a second and just I was like, this is the most gruesome death ever. And it just out of nowhere, I thought April O'Neil was just disintegrated down to the bone. It effed me up for a split second, and then I realized. So thank God, April did not die in this part. But that was a random thing I figured I would kick things off with, because that's what I had, because I was like, oh, that's how they're doing it, and it hurt. But episode 4, Blood and Snow. Hopefully that is the right name. I feel like, yeah, Blood and Snow. I got it. Blood and Snow. Great great issue. I definitely enjoyed it. It surprised me for sure. I wasn't expecting the death of Donatello and Master Splinter to be the way that it was, and I was honestly, as much as I like this issue, it did disappoint me a little bit. And it was mostly because of that. And it was I kind of understood it, because it's after everything that happened, I could understand where Master Splinter was coming from, especially going into it, where it was we were trying to end it. I already lost one son, and we've been going through war this whole time. I thought things were going to be cool, and then you're a douchebag again. And then, of course, it's your whole family's dead. What do you think was really happening? Everybody back home, they're all gone. So, Master Splinter kind of lost it. And it was interesting to see, and I kind of accepted it. Like I said, I was definitely in between, because I was I don't know how I feel about it. It was I enjoyed reading it, but at the same time, I was oh, it feels so much not like Master Splinter to kind of lose it in that way. Plus, him doing that is specifically what got Donatello, because they both got killed by the volley of arrows. And I was it makes me feel weird, because I'm I can kind of see his point. He lost it, and it was it's just me and my final son. It was that one moment, because you never see Master Splinter break. So it was that one thing where I'm if there was ever a moment where I could accept it, it would be this. This would be one of those few times where I'm I could totally see this moment being where Master Splinter finally breaks. But it was still kind of hurtful to read, because I'm he's the reason Donatello got killed. He technically, him just not focusing got them both killed. And it was man, it just feels that. And I mean, heck, that's the last run. The whole story is kind of effed up. But I was wow, something about that just feels a little bit darker than, some of the other deaths that we've seen in the series. And it was just weird to kind of read it. I'm I don't know. I'm do I like it? Do I not like it? Is it that I don't like it just because it hurts? And I was definitely conflicted, and I'm still a little conflicted, but I think ultimately I like it, because I understand. Like I said, it's that final straw type of situation. It just sucks because he lost it and nothing really came of it. He got that good blow in. I feel that's the second time. Both of them, as far as our villains go, well, aside from Baxter Stockman, he's gone. But as far as our villains go, it's constantly they get some epic stab through the neck or through the chest, and it's oh, I thought that was it. You think you'd be out from that moment, and this is the second time that happened. But it's like mother, like son, I guess. And they both take some real serious hits, but they keep on keeping on. But ultimately, I really enjoyed the issue. It was just, like I said, it was that weird thing where I'm man, I don't know 100% how I really feel about this. But I definitely still love the issue, without a doubt. Seeing the action, them being in Japan, once again, the outfits and stuff, there's so many outfits in this that I thought were so cool. Donatello having the hat and everything, I thought just looked really good in this issue. And then we have, as far as the flashback and stuff, it was really entertaining. But the real crazy thing for this issue is kind of the all-out war. They had the war part 1. They even say it at the end, we won the battle but not the war. But I'm considering everything went to hell, they were doing that back and forth, and then once this works, we'll do this thing, and then it's oh, the guy's coming from the sky, oh, we didn't take down the turrets, they're just blasting them out like nothing. So I'm every single thing kept failing, but they made it. I was I feel they won a war. It may have not have been the war, but that was more than a battle. They were getting eviscerated the whole issue, but they kept coming out on top, and ultimately they end up succeeding. And I was like, this is entertaining. Like just going through the whole thing, we find out that Casey actually has powers, which is because, of course, Casey and April being around the Turtles and Master Splinter, it was very funny reading it. I was like, this is so weird. I instantaneously, and some people will get this, some won't, but I had like some Static Shock flashbacks because I was like, wow, it's like Richie. Like he was just around the character that was technically infected, and it was like because of that like residual radiation just let off, and then eventually he got superpowers. I was like, huh, Static Shock. It was weird. It was like as soon as they said it was like it's just in her DNA. It's like it's very latent, but it's in her DNA because we were around you for so long, and it was just automatic, just permeating off of you. I was like instantaneous. I was just like Richie from Static Shock. That's exactly how he got powers. So that was a random flashback to Static Shock from that. But I thought that was cool. It was a really cool reveal, and we found out Casey's a bit stronger and faster, and all the classic things. So I was like, that's interesting. I like that idea. Mikey decides that he will officially be her sensei. Like they go through the training, which is how he kind of realizes it. I think it was the push, because I was like, even when I was reading it, I was like, that seemed like an interesting push. Like they did it where it seemed like she had like a bit of an aura around her hands and stuff like that. Like he went back really far. And I was like, that's interesting. Like even just, I think that was the moment, because I was like, that's interesting. And he even says like, okay, not that not that weak or not that bad. So I like that. And then the reveal of it, and she technically doesn't know because April didn't want to kind of mess with her head a little bit. Like she knows she's a bit different, but I didn't give her like all the details. But now it might be a little bit easier. She has more than just her mom to kind of help her through that. So we'll see how they really deal with that going into the next, or the final issue, really. But I like that reveal. I was like, okay, that's really interesting, and we'll see, how they kind of play around with that a little bit, as far as the extra strength and speed and endurance, all those things. But I like how that was handled. I thought it was pretty cool. Like I said, them going through the battle and the back and forth. Like even from the very beginning, Mike was like, I knew this was a bad plan, and as it keeps going through, it's like, this is a really dumb plan. Like everything just kept failing. But like I said, ultimately they end up succeeding, which is good because with the issue being what it is, I was very curious because I'm like, I doubt they'll kill anybody off as far as I mean, they're, no offense to like Casey's friends, but I don't remember them. It's Casey, April, and then it's Michelangelo, and I was like, I doubt they will. But I was admittedly a little worried. I was like, we're already having to watch Donatello and Master Splinter get killed off in this. I was a little worried that something might happen. So hopefully nothing happens in the final issue as well. We do lose Fugitoid, but at the same time, he also technically took over the system. Like they say it where like he dies, but he also technically is now like controlling the system. Or I guess technically April has control of the system because of that. But I was like, okay. I was a little worried as they were going through, but it was definitely cool. Little bits and pieces of action here and there, and we get we cut to, of course, like just our villain outpost. Like it's just like, all right, they're doing their thing over on this island, like whatever Baxter's doing, like who the F cares? And I was like, actually, you know what, make sure he doesn't blow himself up, like just check on him, I guess, check on the dumbass. So apparently they fight all the time, but they do need each other, which I thought was interesting. And so the way it's handled is that, unless I'm mistaken, which I just read it like 2 days ago, I'll just double check now, but I'm pretty sure once we get to the end, they don't really come up against the actual, like the robots are destroyed, but like the actual foot ninjas in general. So, and this also, by the way, am I crazy? That's just full on Robin, right? Like they did that on purpose, because I'm like, I know she kind of had it with, like even here you can kind of see it where they changed the hairstyle and all that stuff. They kind of did it, but I was like, in this, I'm just like, that's just Robin, right? Like they did that on purpose, didn't they? But also this says next issue and it doesn't say final, and that caught my attention. I doubt it means anything, but it definitely didn't. I would have expected it to be like final issue or something, but it just said next issue, and I was like, that's what they've done the whole series. But maybe a surprise is coming our way. I doubt it, but we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. So enjoyed this one for sure. I feel like I don't have as much to say about it because it was definitely it's definitely like the combat focus. Like the story was definitely within the flashback, and like I said, I've had my conflicted feelings about that, but still enjoy it. As far as the present day battle stuff, I do like the reveal with Casey, and considering it's only a 5-issue series, I don't think they can do too much with it. Not that there's much to do with it. I mean, honestly, they'll tell her that she officially has superpowers, and there's not much else you do with that. You just train with that, and it's like, okay, so she's better than most other people because she has latent mutagen abilities. So there's not much that they would need to add to it, really. My main thing is with us going into the final issue, I'm very curious what is going to end up happening. Like, what are they going to explain? What's going to happen with Karai? Because honestly, I thought they were going to have her like wake up like in issue 3. I honestly I thought that was kind of how they were going to do it. Like at the halfway point, Karai's going to wake up, and then we'll see what happens. She could still wake up at the end, and it might not. I mean, considering everything that happened with her character and why they're in this battle anyway, and why she's in a coma, it probably doesn't make a difference whether or not she wakes up, because it's not like she's gonna, go back to the peace treaty. But I mentioned before, I had a lot of questions like why did she kind of go against the peace treaty that they had? And Karai, based on a couple of stories, I don't know like all versions of the story, but Karai was always the one that was more reasonable than Shredder. So it just seemed extra weird that she suddenly was just like, you know what, F that, let's kill all of them again. And I still have a question about that. I'm like, I feel like there's an answer there that we need, because it just seems weird that out of nowhere she would just change her mind and just decide to start up a war again. So I feel like there's still an answer coming our way. I could be wrong about that, but I was like, she hasn't woken up yet. If she doesn't, that's super weird, because I'm like, they might as well have killed her. It'll just be weird if she doesn't end up waking up at all. But I'm like, I feel like there's an answer there somewhere. Like, I feel like something weird happened to just suddenly kick off a battle again out of nowhere when they had a peace treaty. It could just be evil people do evil things, maybe. But I feel like, I think I mentioned that in like, probably for the last issue, probably for issue 3, but maybe even in issue 2. It was just like, it seems weird. Like, why'd they have this peace treaty? And then just out of nowhere, she was like, let's fight again. I feel like there's an answer there that we need, but who knows if we'll actually get it. And in general, who knows what's going to happen in our final issue. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. I would love to know your thoughts on this issue. Of course, the death of Master Splinter and Donatello. How do you guys feel about it technically being Master Splinter's fault? Like, they... like Donatello was telling them, the general guy, whose name I totally don't remember, but they were saying the same thing, like, hey, like, with the archers, like, we're kind of outnumbered here, even without just the people, just the arrows alone, it's going to be hard to, stop them. Like, we should back off, and Master Splinter wouldn't do that. And Donatello was like, well, it's my dad, I have to go into battle with him. So I would love to know your feelings on that, because like I said, I was very conflicted, but like, at the same time, I understood why for Master Splinter, but it still sucks, because I'm just like, dang, he didn't just get himself killed. It wasn't like Raphael. Like, Raphael did his thing. He got himself killed. Master Splinter got himself and Donatello killed. Like, Donatello simply died protecting his father. And it was just like, that, like I said, it just, something about it was like, that just makes it sadder. It wasn't really like this epic all-out brawl. It was like, Master Splinter just lost it. Like, he lost everything, and just, he couldn't see. He couldn't see further than what was in front of him in his vengeance. And the thing that he was always against is kind of what got him. It's really interesting. Like I said, I think I enjoyed just for the story element of it. But it's like, man, Donatello just, like, he was just being a good son and he died. It was like, it's effed up. It's like, that's the whole series. It's super effed up. But still loved it. Like I said, we'd love to know your thoughts on this issue. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. If you guys want to check out my review for all the other issues, you definitely can. And of course, thanks for watching.